Hey everyone, Peter Zeihan here, coming to you from Colorado. Today we're going to talk about currencies and government debt. And yeah, I know some of you are just like, but trust me, this one's going to be a good one. Now, the US Federal Reserve is in the process of raising interest rates. The idea is that by raising the cost of borrowing, raising the cost of money, that there's going to be less consumption. And that's how ultimately you get inflation under control. The US is dealing with its highest inflation rates in 40 years. We're seeing it in raw commodities, we're seeing it in energy, we're seeing it in housing, we're seeing it in baby formula. And until we find a balance between supply and demand, this is going to be our normal. Interest rates are the tool that the Federal Reserve has. But it's not just the Federal Reserve in play here. There are other major countries dealing with similar issues. The problem for them is they can't raise interest rates. If you look at Europe or if you look at Japan, these are economies whose demographics have aged so fast that all of them have more people in their 50s and their 40s and their 30s and their 20s. And since economies with a lot of people in their 20s and 30s are where most consumption comes from, these countries are probably never going to have positive interest rates again. Europe's already been at 0 for the last decade, Japan for roughly 2. They cannot emerge from this. If you look at the other major players, say Sweden or Denmark or the British pound, it's not quite as bad. They do have better demographics, but Sweden and Denmark joined with the Brits and the Europeans in supporting sanctions on the Russian system, and they're kind of at ground zero for feeling the economic effects. So while they are experiencing inflation that is uncomfortable, they feel they don't dare raise interest rates for the risk of choking off whatever economic growth they might be able to have in an environment where we have shortages of everything because of the Russians. In case of the British pound, it's even worse because the Brits still don't have a plan for what happens after Brexit. So anyone who wants to invest in Britain just has a huge amount of uncertainty. The only other country of note is China, but the yuan is not internationally traded, because the economic system there is now so stilted and because of lockdowns so shut down that if they were to open their economy to the wider world, you'd have a huge amount of capital flight. They can't tolerate that. So only about 1% of the circulation of the Chinese yuan is actually available for international exchange, and most of that is in Hong Kong. You add on top of that that the Chinese tend to print currency at 2 to 5 times the rate of the United States, and they're monetizing their entire system in a way that the United States has never even considered. Now, where does this take us? Well, a lot of the world's economies, the krona in Denmark, the Swedish krona, the European euro, the British pound, the Japanese yen, the Korean won, the Australian kiwi dollars, they're all de facto linked to the United States' system now because of the sanctions that are going on in Europe. That means that we have a country that has all the demographic strength, the United States, and a country that has the global currency, the United States, and a currency that everyone else is taking their cues from, the United States. That suggests that the US dollar has nowhere to go but up for years to come. And on top of that, we have a bond issue. Now, because all of these countries around the world can't raise interest rates, when they issue debt to get people to buy it so they can fund their government, they have to offer terms that are around 0. In fact, we've got $2.5 trillion of international debt, government debt, that is actually earning negative returns. Compare that to the United States. The United States is the beginning of a very long series of interest rate increases in order to get inflation under control, but no one else is. That means the differential between American bond yields and global ones is just going to rise and rise and rise and rise. And that means we're going to see huge volumes of foreign capital flooding from the sovereign debt markets of the rest of the world into the United States. Because would you rather have like a negative 1% return or a 3% return? That suggests that the United States is going to be able to borrow at lower prices for a longer period of time than anyone has factored in. And as long as the US economy remains consumer driven with its relatively healthy demography, that is going to be for decades to come. Bottom line, even now, in a period of inflation, probably at the turning of a business cycle, where the baby boomers are moving to retirement and taking their money and consumption with them, the US still looks pretty good, in part because it's doing what Ross Perot so eloquently put, that giant sucking sound, pulling the money out of the rest of the world. Okay, that's it from me. If you want to hear more about this topic or other topics related to capital inflation, we are hosting a seminar this June 8 at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. Feel free to sign up, the button's right below. If not, items on this mailing list, whether it's newsletters or videos, will continue to be free. They will always be free, and we would appreciate donations to the AFIA Foundation, which is an NGO charity that is providing medical assistance to the refugees caused by the Ukraine war. The link for that is below as well. All right, that's officially it for me. Until next time.